All right, so I'm going to preface this right away, okay? I'm going to preface this right now and say that I know that Rōki Sasaki will not sign with the Yankees. He will not be donning Yankee pinstripes, at least in the year 2025. I know that. I know he's most likely going to be a Los Angeles Dodger, and if he's not a Dodger, he'll probably be a Padre, maybe a Met. I understand he's probably not ending up in Yankee pinstripes. With that said, we found out today the Yankees are at least planning to meet with him, so they're interested, and we are going to talk about that. Episode 763, the podcast. Welcome to BD4. Let's get into it.
Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive into left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a
Take this time to apologize to absolutely nobody.
At the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. November.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. My God did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Brunson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Okay, welcome to the show, episode 763, the podcast. I appreciate you all tuning in, as always. Welcome to BD4. Yeah, man, the Yankees are apparently, according to the old reports that I've been seeing on my Twitter feed, they're planning to meet with Rōki Sasaki very soon and making a pitch to him. Again, for the second time in less than 2 minutes, I will preface this by saying I understand that he's most likely going to go to the Dodgers because he wants to play with his best friends. And if he doesn't go to the Dodgers, he's going to go to the Padres where he can play with his idol in Yu Darvish. I understand all of that. But the Yankees are planning to meet with him first. And this is a guy who's going to generate a lot of hype. He's already created a ton of media attention. This is a right-handed pitcher from Japan. He's a top Japanese prospect. And he's a hot commodity for a reason, folks. He's legitimate. He's very legitimate. Looking at the results, the age, the eye test, if you've ever seen the kid pitch, if you watched him in the WBC a couple years ago, if he had a 19 strikeout perfect game in the NPB a couple years ago. He's got elite stuff. And so he's going to be posted on January 15th. And he must sign within about a week. I think the 23rd is the day he has to be signed by. And if he's not signed by then, he's going back to the NPB. Which means it's going to be a frenzy. Even if we all know who the favorite is to sign him, it's going to be a frenzy within that window. He just turned 23 years old in November. He had an incredible 4-year stint in Japan where, as a 19-year-old rookie across 16 games, he posted a 1.84 ERA. He's a starting pitcher. A 2.02 ERA overall in Japan across 4 years. He threw 414 and 2/3 innings pitched. That's 69 games across those 4 years, posting a 2.02 ERA an 11.4 strikeouts per 9, a 2.0 walks per 9, 6 hits per 9. Just incredibly efficient, powerful numbers. This is a guy who has ace-like upside with elite stuff in a good makeup. He's got a very athletic, lean frame to him, a very good delivery. You know, I'm sure. I'm always confident about these guys. He's got great arm action, 3+ pitches, power pitches, and really good control. The command is still probably a work in progress. That's probably the one thing he's still got to fine tune, right? It's pinpointing that accuracy. But he doesn't walk a lot of batters, and he's got a very explosive arm, which is a rare combination right there. He's gotten some comparisons to a young Noah Syndergaard, young Matt Harvey, right? I mean, he's got an elite fastball. His four-seam fastball, from what I've read articles on MLB.com, it grades out as a 70 on the 2080 scale. Some would even say a couple years ago it graded as an 80. We'll talk about what I mean in a second. But he could dial that thing up to 102 miles an hour. Again, you saw, anybody who watched the World Baseball Classic knows who I'm talking about. They saw firsthand, this kid can throw heat. In 2023, though, he averaged 99 miles an hour with the fastball. It had really good arm side run, and he got a 24% whiff rate on it. Last year, there was a dip-off. There was a drop-off. Fastball dropped about 2 miles an hour, and it was a little bit more straighter, which got him just 13% whiff rate. From what I heard, it was just some mechanical issues. So if it was just mechanical issues, that stuff can be fixed in the United States. You know, with more money and better access to different resources and the analytics that we have over here, that stuff can be tweaked. But he's got an electric four-seam fastball that's not going to be any less than 95, and it'll go all the way up to triple digits. He favors it to lefties a little bit more. He's got an excellent splitter. That's his best off-speed weapon. It's usually the pitch with guys who come over from Japan. If it's not a splitter, it's a sinker. His splitter is excellent. It'll sit 88 to 90 miles an hour. It can touch 91, 92. He neutralizes spin on it very well, so it's not a pitch that, it's a traditional splitter. It's got that late downward break where it just falls off a cliff. Very tough to make solid contact on that pitch. Last year, it had a 57% whiff rate. The MLB average for whiff rate on a splitter, last year, it was 35%. That's a crazy pitch for him. He favors this pitch to lefties a little bit more. He threw it 11% more to lefties last year. When he throws the splitter he favors it to lefties. When he throws it to righties, he likes to go back foot. He goes front door. The slider is his tertiary pitch. It's still a plus pitch. Still a plus pitch. At worst, it's above average. It misses bats a ton as well. Last year, a 41% whiff rate. It hovered around 83 to 85. 2 years ago, it was 49% whiff rate. It was closer to the upper 80s in velocity. Again, I'm not worried about the velocity dip and just the stuff not being as crisp because the Yankees wouldn't be paying him a large sum of money. Right? It's as simple as that. It's not a guy you're committing $300 million to. So he's got a great slider. Favors it to righties. He threw 20% more to right-handed batters last year. Likes going backdoor with that pitch to righties. When he goes to lefties with it, he likes to go back foot. But yeah, he's going to expect to sign within that time frame from the 15th to the 23rd. And it's going to be strictly international bonus pool money. And then obviously he gets a signing bonus, which is dependent on how much international money a club has. And since he's 23 years old, he's going to be treated like an American prospect when it comes to the contract, where he'll give 6 years of service time before he's allowed to enter major league free agency. He'll get 3 years of pre-arbitration money, and then he'll get an additional 3 years of arbitration money, where it increases every year after that. So that means he won't be a free agent until the winter of 2030, 2031. So he'll make league minimum in his first season in the big leagues, and he won't hurt your payroll for 6 years. And if he wins Rookie of the Year next year, the team he wins it for will get a free first-round draft pick. So you know the Yankees love that stuff. I'm hearing, like from what I'm reading, not to sound like a fake reporter, from what I'm reading on the internet, the word has been if he were to command American money, the contract would be looking anywhere from $275 to $300 million. This is a kid who's 3+ years younger than Yamamoto is. And he's also the same age as Ohtani was when he debuted. The suitors for this kid, Rōki Sasaki, other than the Yankees, as we mentioned, the Dodgers, definitely a suitor. The Padres, definitely a suitor. And most likely the Mets as well. Right? Everybody's probably in on this kid because he's only going to make 6 figures. But I think the Dodgers are the clear favorite because they've got the pipeline to Japanese talent right now with Yamamoto and Ohtani. It's also a much easier flight back home from LA. And let's be honest, Sasaki's not choosing top dollar here, obviously, or else he would still be in the NPB. He left early to come to America, and I think he wants to play with his best friends. Now, the Mets do have Kodai Senga, who played in Japan. You know, the Padres do have, again, this was an icon to him growing up, Yu Darvish. So, I think those 3 are ahead in the pecking order just because they've got international prospects already. But hey, you know, maybe he wants to go to the Yankees to be his own Japanese star. You know, he'd get all the advertising money that way. I don't know. I just think... I think somebody else will get him, but that doesn't, like, there's no reason the Yankees shouldn't do every single thing. There's no reason the Yankees shouldn't do everything they can to get him. You know, he's a low-risk signing, and Japanese players usually have a very solid floor. At worst, they're usually helpful. You know, the Yankees have a good history with Japanese players for the most part. And you get this kid. If you can land Sasaki, this creates an incredible rotation. Even if he's just an average major league starting pitcher, it still gives you incredible depth. You have the depth to where if Sasaki comes here and he underachieves and he doesn't pan out and he gets injured in his first year or something, you still have the depth to where it can still work because you have 6 starting pitchers. You've got Cole, Fried, Heel, Rodon, Schmidt, and Sasaki if you get them. So it's not like it'd be a high risk. You're not paying them legitimate money. Speaking of Max Fried, I want to talk about him because he held his press conference earlier today. Let's talk about Max Fried when we return from our break here in episode 763 of the podcast. We'll be right back. Stick with us here on episode 763 of BD4. Be right back. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment, and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. Don't have time to sit down and watch a video? You can listen to BD4 on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video format on Spotify too. If you feel like supporting the podcast, you can Venmo at Robert-Carbone-JR-28. We really appreciate your support. Do you enjoy Yankees baseball but are tired of hearing me yap? I have a suggestion for you. Go check out Yankee Crazy Podcast. Greg Gill is a Yankees podcaster on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And he's now selling merch. Go to yankeecrazy.myshopify.com. Stay connected with us. Visit BD4blog.com to explore our blog, tune in to our latest podcasts, and follow us on social media. Thank you for being a part of this community. Okay, welcome back to the show. Earlier today, Wednesday, December 18th, in the afternoon, while everybody was working or not home, so that was a nice time for it, Max Fried held his official press conference. His introductory press conference. Not the presser we expected this offseason, but the presser we all got. Yeah. No, I'm excited for Max Fried, man. I'm excited. When I first heard the news, I was excited. I wasn't stressed out about the extra 8th year. If you're still stressing about that, then, have fun worrying about 2033 while we're all looking at, trying to win a championship in 2025. That's all I got there. But no, I'm excited for this kid, man. Like he's a legitimate pitcher. I know that's cliche, pitcher, not a thrower, but you love guys. Like one of the reasons I liked the Stroman signing, not to make that the comp, but like one of the reasons I initially liked bringing Stroman in was because he was a pitcher. He had a deep pitch mix. Max Fried is a guy with actual good major league stuff, and he's got a deep pitch mix, right? He's 4-seam, curve, 2-seam, slider, sweeper, whatever you want to call it, change-up, cutter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pitches right there, 6 pitches, right? His 4-seam fastball is, it's the pitch he uses the most. It got 34% usage last year. He's not super reliant on it. That's not a high percentage for a 4-seam fastball because it's a very middling pitch for him stuff-wise. The velocity's not amazing. It's average, 94-ish. The movement's not crazy. The numbers on it are so-so. He can locate the fastball well, though. And he uses the fastball to get ahead and set up the off-speed. He uses it to show something else, to give a different look. The curveball, that's his pitch. He used it 21% of the time last year. That's the second most. It's got excellent drop on it. It gets very good swing and miss. The numbers on the curve are exceptional year to year. Whether you're looking at the batting average numbers on it, the slugging numbers, the whiff rate, the expected numbers, batting average and slugging, like the curveball gets results every single year. His two-seam is his third most used pitch. Got 16% usage last year. I would say it's more of a sinker. It's more of a traditional sinker, the type of action it has on it. The velocity is the same as his four-seam fastball, but it's got late break where it's more of a downward movement, down and in to a righty. But it's more down than horizontal, which makes it more of a sinker. And then the changeup, his fourth most used pitch at 14% last year. It's a good pitch. The slider, he used 12% of the time last year. He likes to put different breaks on it to where it's more of a sweeping slider, and sometimes it's more of a traditional dropping slider. And the cutter, which is more of a hard slider, he used it 5% of the time last year. And all those numbers I rounded off, so it's probably, you add that up, it's probably a little bit over 100%. But a deep 6-pitch mix, and you go to his StatCast pages, and it's decent. The swing and miss stuff is about average in the rankings, whiff rate, chase rate, K rate, velocity, all those kinds of numbers were 50-ish. Where he was very elite in was the contact stuff. Hard hit percentage, exit velo, ground ball percentage. That's where he thrives. He gets a ton of ground balls, which is why you want to shore up the Yankee defense, right? Which is why I'm not very high on Luis Arias coming in to play second base, which is why I'm very high on Christian Walker, which is why I'm very high on Jazz Chisholm moving to second base, right? Which is why I love Alonso offensively. I don't prefer him because of his defense. Max Fried gets a ton of ground balls. But because he's a guy who doesn't have ridiculous strikeout stuff and doesn't throw 99 miles an hour, this is why many people think he might age better than you think with that contract, because he doesn't rely on hard velocity. Maybe that's why the Yankees never made an offer to Corbin Burns, as he's 30 years old and he's a guy who throws 97 miles an hour, because they think Max Fried has a longer shelf life, because he's got a deep pitch mix and he knows how to use them, right? He's not Carlos Rodon, where he's relying on chucking that fastball 60% of the time, and then he goes to a changeup, and then that's about it. Not the changeup, the slider, right? He'll rarely mix in, very rarely mixes in the changeup, a little more than last year. The cutter he kind of abandoned as the year went along. Mainly a 2-pitch pitcher. That's not Max Fried. He's going to mix it up. The only thing I ask, and this is more on the Yankees, it's on Aaron Boone and the analytics department, with this team paying a lot of money to the top end of their rotation, in Gerrit Cole, in Max Fried, in Carlos Rodon, they're investing a lot of money into the top end. So let these guys go deeper into games, please. Let them go 6+ if they look solid. Especially with Cole and Fried. Rodon's not always going to be the most efficient, and he's not a guy you can trust. But if Cole and Fried are rolling, I don't want to hear the term third time through. You got to have more faith in these guys. You got to have more trust, and let your bullpen do 7, 8, 9 on most nights. You have a lot of money invested in this rotation, and you have a lot of talent there at the top. So I'm excited. Maybe the Yankees can shock the world and bring in Rōki Sasaki. If they can do that, well then, Jesus, do you have a staff? That moves Rodon to the number 5 spot. If you want to keep staggering, possibly moves him to 4 or 5. That's crazy. But we'll see what happens, folks. We'll see. And that's all I got for this episode. Quick one. Just wanted to give an update on the Yankees. And we'll see what the next move is. Pretty quiet today after Bellinger yesterday. So we'll see what happens within the next couple days and who they're going after next. It seems like Christian Walker could be in plans. Like we said last episode, 762. I do think the Yankees are going to have to exceed the tax a little bit if they really want to improve the lineup. Playing this Moneyball game and trying to stay under 300 is a little difficult to do if you're trying to build a World Series team around high-paid players like Stanton, Cole, Rodon, Judge. Right? Now Fried. It's kind of hard to stay in between. Either do this or do that, in my opinion. But with that said, folks, I appreciate you all tuning in as always. We're going to wrap this episode up right here. Episode 763 in the books. The Yanks plan to meet with and present to Rōki Sasaki. So we'll see how this goes. Appreciate you all. See you soon. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4.